Hey everyone, I'm BMacVR, and thanks for joining me. Today marks another entry into the series in case you missed it. And I've got a feeling this game flew under the radar of a lot of you. And that game is the co-op survival horror title, Devour. So let's get into it. A little history first. Devour is made by Straight Back Games and is only available on Steam. It originally launched in early 2021 as a flat screen only game. Some of you may be thinking, nope, no way, I'm out. I don't do horror. But stick around, because this game is awesome and it might just shock you in a good way. In Devour, you and up to 3 friends take the role of cultists, and you team up to stop the demon Azazel, who has possessed a fellow cultist and is now dead set on taking you to hell. The goal of the game is to perform rituals that destroy the 10 cursed objects that are giving Azazel hold over your cultist buddy. And as you might have guessed, Azazel is not a big fan of you doing that. In most of the maps, there's a designated area where you destroy the cursed objects, and in the first few maps, that area is somewhat safe. But of course, in order to find those objects, you must search the areas where Azazel is prowling. And that is a potent recipe for tension. And the closer the team gets to completing all of the rituals, the more that tension builds. Because each time you roast a goat or fry a rat, Azazel gets more pissed off and more powerful. But remember, you're not alone, and if you're not a horror person, just know that playing these types of games with friends greatly reduces the fear, and you can defend yourself. You and your friends are equipped with special flashlights that have a UV mode, and that UV light is capable of stunning Azazel. But it's not an instant solution, and the more the UV shining on Azazel, the better. Azazel is also not constantly trying to murder you, at least not at first. In the early stages of the game, you will see Azazel just creepily wandering around the map, not caring about you or your teammates. But just don't make eye contact for too long.
Oh shit. Did I get too close to her?
And it's in this early stage of the game that you often try to work ahead in preparation for when Azazel is raging through the hallways. Cleansing an object isn't as easy as just picking up a goat and tossing it in the flames. You gotta light that fire somehow and figure out how to catch the damn goat in the first place. So, stockpile up on all the stuff you need to perform the ritual, and that's best done early. The first 2 maps, Farmhouse and Asylum, have basic rituals requiring just a few tools, but the later maps gradually increase the complexity of those rituals, and that marginal complexity bump has an exponential effect on the game's difficulty. But the basic formula remains the same here for each map. Gather stuff for the ritual, avoid Azazel, and unlock doors. And there are a lot of doors that you need to open up. And like everything else, the keys are hidden throughout the area that Azazel patrols. So look twice before you step into the hallway.
Here she comes.
Okay. Here she comes. There she comes. Okay, go.
But it's not just Azazel you have to worry about here. There are lesser demons scattered about, and while they don't pose a huge threat in the early levels, they can kill you, and in the later levels are quite menacing. So, dispatch them with your trusty light, but make sure you pay attention to how much power your UV light has remaining. But don't worry, it slowly recharges. But if you fry a demon and then encounter a hunting Azazel, you might be going for a ride. Because if you fail to stun Azazel, you are greeted with a pretty intense jump scare that fills your entire vision. And trust me on this one, the first time you experience that in the headset, you're going to remember it. But I'm not going to spoil that for you here and show it in this video. But just know that it will startle you and probably elicit a few choice words while Azazel drags you or a friend off into the darkness.
No, God.
But don't worry, all is not lost, unless everyone in the party is knocked down. Devour has a Left 4 Dead style revive mechanic where you can pick up your buddies with a medkit. It makes the game very forgiving and approachable. Throughout the map, medkits are scattered around and occasionally respawn. But you will also find things like batteries, which give your flashlight more juice, and some collectible items that lead to cosmetic unlocks. And you really need to scour the environments here to find all those hidden collectibles. And quite honestly, it becomes a fun treasure hunt that's best done when you don't have a demon breathing down your neck. And thankfully, Straight Back Games does an incredible job of building detailed and convincing environments to hide those collectibles in. You can't interact with everything you see here like in big budget VR games, but nothing feels empty here. The maps are richly detailed and the atmosphere is woven in masterfully. As you inch closer to completing all the rituals, not only does Azazel grow more menacing, but the atmosphere becomes oppressive. Things explode, rain torrents down, and when you reach the last few rituals, it's like the air thickens with dread and you know you're in for a fight, especially when you hear Azazel's screams and knife through the air, and in VR that just cuts deeper. I mean, it gets freaking intense in there. And then before you know it, there's only one person left standing, but they have the last rat, and it becomes a race to see if they can complete the ritual. This game is an avalanche that culminates into some great moments with you and your friends. And while you can play it solo, it really should be played with a group of 3 or 4. The experience is certainly intense, but it's also somehow, in a sense, kind of lighthearted. Okay, no, that's not really the best way to describe it, but in a lot of ways, Devour feels like a love letter to the classic B-horror movies like Army of Darkness. It's like some of this stuff is just so over the top that it's meant to be more entertaining than really scary. This is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not Cultist Simulator, it's just kind of wacky, zany fun, and that just means it's more fun with your friends.
You were just like punishing that thing, man.
There's a key in the room before that one. Yeah, there's a key.
The VR implementation here is pretty good, but it's obvious the game was designed around traditional video game controls. Your flashlight is stuck to your right hand, and only the left hand can interact with the world and pick up stuff. Joining a private server also has a lot of friction. You have to type in the password, and there's no in-game virtual keyboard. I also don't think Devour fully supports room scale. If you get too far from the center of your play space, you're asked to recenter. And while that may be a turnoff to some, it still has fully tracked motion controls, and it's a trade I will gladly make because this game excels in other areas that some VR games suffer. For starters, it's a very niche multiplayer game with a healthy community, and as a VR player you can play with flat screen players. And I think that's a real strength that more PC VR games need to lean into. So if you have friends who don't have a headset but they have a gaming PC or even a Steam Deck, this is something you can all play together. The environments are also incredibly immersive and can really only be truly appreciated from within the headset. Aside from that, it also has great animations and 5 different levels to experience. And while that may not sound like a lot, each level takes probably an hour to complete, and the whole game is designed around replayability. Also, Straight Back Games is working on adding new maps, and they do seasonal events too. But the most insane thing about this game isn't Azazel, it's the price. My VR buddy James said it best. This game only costs 20 freaking quarters. Not dollars, quarters. Yeah, you can get all of this for $5. That's it. For that price, if you play it just once and have fun, in my opinion, money well spent. Now, the devs do offer supporter packs, and you can purchase in-game stuff, but at least for now, that all seems like it's tied to cosmetics. There's no gameplay locked behind a paywall here. Hell, this game even has perks providing progression incentives. A kid's meal at McDonald's is more expensive than Devour and harder to digest. This game has got to be the most insane value in all of VR. And if you don't agree with me, just let me know in the comments. Now, I know that being a horror game means that many people just won't play it, and quite frankly, I understand that. While the jump scares are intense, they're not random. Azazel sometimes catches me off guard, but most of the time you see it coming and can kind of mentally prepare for what's about to happen to you. And once you experience it a few times, your brain figures out that you're still okay, you're still alive, and you can just kind of settle in and have fun. And being together with friends also makes this more approachable. You don't have to roam the hallways of the asylum alone. Hell, most of the time you probably shouldn't. It's also kind of fun to hear your buddies scream over the microphone as they get attacked by Azazel.
What's on me? What's on me? Get off me! Get off me! Something's on me.
But for $5, if there's a VR horror game to take a chance on to see if you actually like VR horror, it's this one. And once you get past the fear of Azazel picking you up, you're not going to want to put this game down. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, but an even bigger thanks to the small indie dev team at Straight Back Games for building the VR mode into Devour. They included it because they knew it would be a lot of hellish fun. It's a big ask, but I would love to see this game make it to the PS5 and the PSVR 2. The OLED screens, the head haptics, would ratchet up the experience to a whole new level. And just imagine feeling a rat or goat wiggling around in your hands with the Sense controllers. Anyway, thanks for watching. Go buy Devour, and I'll catch you next time.